Hi, Nashville Academy students. My name is Sherrie Funk, and my husband Charlie and I own Just Cruisin Plus. We are a travel agency and we specialize in cruises and vacations. We don't do any corporate travel at all. All we sell is fun and memories for people to take vacations. Let me tell you my story and how I got into this business. I think it will be interesting to most of you. Um, in 1973, this is long before your parents were ever born. I was working for a company in Atlanta, Georgia, and I did all of their meeting planning, all of their corporate travel for their salespeople and for their technicians. And I loved what I did. I really loved it. Was going through a divorce. I moved back to Nashville with my daughter to be near my family. And I thought, I would love to have a job in the travel industry, but I don't really know where to start. So, in the interim, I went to work for an advertising agency here in Nashville, substituting for a woman who was out on leave. And I knew that it was temporary, it was just going to be for 3 months. So, it gave me some time to be able to look at the marketplace, figure out what I wanted to do, and find some contacts. I went to work first of all. I literally created a job for myself at a single hotel property. It was Ramada Inn South, and it was down on Harding Place at I-24. Ramada South did a lot of corporate business. We did some tour business when we would have groups that came into Nashville. And I loved working with both parts of the industry. In fact, I met my husband that way because he was one of my corporate accounts and one of the very first people that I ever made a sales call on. So I created this job to increase our local corporate business as well as to work with travel agents and tour operators all over the U.S. who brought people to Nashville. And at that time, it was to go to Opryland and to do sightseeing of the stars' homes. And it was just a really interesting mix of people that I got to deal with. From there, after I had been there for 11 months, I was offered a job with Holiday Inns Incorporated to become their area sales manager. That meant that I had 5 hotels, all located in Nashville, that I was responsible for all of their sales and marketing. And again, this time I was not working with corporate accounts, I was working with leisure accounts, meaning travel agents and tour operators primarily. I had a director of sales in each of those properties who reported to me, and they were the ones that were responsible for the corporate sales. From there, after being there for a little over a year, and please understand, every time I made a move, it was to make a move up, not a lateral move, but an increase in my responsibilities as well as my salary. I was offered a job with Greyline Tours here in Nashville as their vice president of package tour sales. Now, what that meant was I got to work with tour operators, with airlines, and with travel agents all over the US and Canada. We had, I was responsible for putting together the packages that included hotels, attractions, meaning Opryland, the Hermitage, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and then a sightseeing tour where we would either have a step-on guide who would step on a motor coach if they came in by motor coach, or if it was individuals, they would have a sightseeing tour included. It also included tickets to the Grand Ole Opry, and at that point, they were really difficult to get. And so I was responsible for we had 300 tickets every single weekend, year round, that I had to fill those packages and sell those tickets, or else we'd have to eat them. So it became very, very important for us to market heavily to the airlines and their tour desks and to tour operators all over. I got to work with some of the really big tour operators in the US and Canada, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. After being there for a year and a half, I was then offered a job with the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development in marketing. The Commissioner of Tourist Development knew me from when I worked at the ad agency, and he had kind of kept in touch over the years and knew what I was doing, what I was capable of doing, and he hired me. He and the assistant commissioner, who became a very good friend of ours after I quit working for him, uh, to be a marketing representative for him. I got to work not only with the tour operators and travel agents at that point, but I also got to work with all of the attractions across the state of Tennessee, the hotels, the tour companies. It was a wonderful opportunity. I got to know all of the people at the different convention and visitors bureaus for each of the major cities, the event planners. I just really learned a lot about how attractions operate, what their needs were, what the hotel's needs were. And then I got to attend a lot of conferences and conventions. One of them was a conference that we did every year that was for all over the world. We had tour operators from Germany, we had them from um, England, we had them from Japan, from all over. There was one in particular that I got to go to in New Orleans, and it was for German tour operators. And so when they would sit down with us, we had an interpreter with us, and their first question would be, "Do you have a beach?" Now, you guys know we live in Tennessee, and no, we don't have a beach here. We're not near the ocean. And I would have to show them on a map where we were actually located. And then I would tell them about the only two things that they knew that they could make sense of. They knew Dolly Parton and they knew Jack Daniels. Those were two things that they were familiar with. So, but when we told them that, then there was a lot of interest. And so those tour operators then started to put together packages to bring people from all over the world to Nashville. So that was really, really a great opportunity. In the meantime, Holiday Inns Incorporated came back to me and they offered me another job. This was back in 1980. They offered me a job as a district sales and marketing manager. Now, we were about to go into the 1982 World's Fair at that point. I had 13 hotels in my district, and each of them had a director of sales. The 13 hotels that I had were located in Knoxville, Nashville, Chattanooga, and Jackson. The only Holiday Inns that we did not have, that I was not responsible for, were those that were in Memphis and the one in Gatlinburg, but all the rest of them I was. So going into that, I had an issue with the guy who was over operations. I was over sales and marketing for our district. He was over operations. And to make a long story short, I had to eventually file a lawsuit against them for gender discrimination when he announced to the whole office that he had wanted a man and not a woman in my position. It was not an easy thing to go through. And when I went through that lawsuit, it was a matter of did I really want to go into court with this, or could we settle this through the economic community, the EOC? Could we settle it through them without going to court? I had enough information on him that we were able to settle it out of court, which Holiday Inns Inc. had never done anywhere in the U.S. But I had so much from him in writing that I was smart enough to keep it. And when we presented the facts, they came back and offered a settlement, which I did not accept because it was so so minimal and so nothing. And at that point, I didn't have a job. My husband and I had not gotten married yet. Um, I had a child. I was a single parent, and it was rough. It was very rough. So it took about 2 weeks for us to negotiate. They would call every day. They would raise the ante. I knew what the number was that I would accept for us to, for me to be able to settle this suit. And so I settled it out of court. That gave me money then to start this company. I had a good friend who had started an outbound tour operation here. It was called Pacesetter Tours Incorporated. And he had an inbound tour operation. In fact, he was one of my competitors when I was at Grayline. But he called me one day and said, "Hey, would you be interested in buying into the company?" There were two partners and then myself. And I jumped on it because what they wanted to do was tours to the World's Fair in 1982. That was going to be the big push. So from the basement of our home, I took 3,000 people to the World's Fair that year. Um, and that really started things rolling. I had a database started. Believe me, at that point, I had an old Commodore 64 computer. Some of you all probably don't even know what they are. They had a floppy disk. Everything had to be saved on it. It was very primitive, but it worked. And I was able to save this database. After the fair, I started getting calls from people who would say, you took our bank on, took a group from our bank on this trip, or you took our lumber company, you took an incentive trip for us. We would like to do an incentive trip this year, but we would like to do a cruise. Now, I had not been on a cruise, but I thought I can learn about them. And so I did. And we jumped into it with both hands and feet. So I started doing some cruise groups. I did things like we did the University of Tennessee when they played in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans one year. We took 300 people to New Orleans on motor coaches. We took a group of about 100 people from Vanderbilt for the Great Alaskan Shootout when they were in a basketball tournament there. So I was doing a lot of unusual kinds of trips. But one day I realized we were doing a lot of cruise, and I was getting a lot of individuals who were wanting me to book things for them. So my husband, I kept telling my husband, I said, we really need to buy my partner out, and we really need to become Tennessee's first cruise only agency. This was a up and coming segment of the travel business at that point. There were maybe 25 or 30 cruise only agencies around the nation. So I basically, Charlie went out of town for the first week in November, and I picked him up at the airport on Friday night, and he said, "What did you do this week?" And I said, "Well, I've contacted all the cruise lines, and I told them that we were going to open as Tennessee's first cruise only agency on January 1st. And his reply to me was, "What year?" I said, "Well, in 2 months." And he said, "Sherrie, we'll never be able to do this. We've got to find an office." I said, "Found an office this week. All is good." It was a little 250 square foot office, but it worked for us for the first year. And then, and then I, I called my partner and I said, we've got to buy you out. We did. Charlie and I wrote a business plan. We took it to try to get some financing because that was one of the things he said, we don't have financing. We found out that we really didn't need a loan. What we needed was a line of credit if we were willing to put our house up to get the line of credit. We both believed strongly enough that we could make this work. So we did. I had to do forecasting on how many people, how much money we thought we could do the first year. And we came up with a number that the first year of business we would do $500,000, and that we would take of that 500,000, we had a passenger count. I can't even remember what it is now, but at any rate, at the end of the year, we did $498,000. but we had a lot more passengers than what we had anticipated because I was basing everything on 7-night cruises, and we were selling more 3 and 4-night cruises to a very virgin cruise market. My marketing skills and Charlie's marketing skills came into play. We did a lot of TV appearances on local television shows, on local radio talk shows, and so we got the name of the company out there quickly. Within 2 years, we were named Carnival Cruise Line's Agency of the Year out of all of the travel agencies in the United States and Canada. Now, it was not based on our dollar volume, but it was based on how we promoted cruises and how we promoted Carnival Cruise Lines in particular. Over the years, our business has grown and grown and grown, and we have truly loved being in this business. It has been amazing. However, I will tell you that owning a business is something that's difficult to do at times, but extremely rewarding at others. We have we have a saying that we use that you don't own a business, it owns you, because there's not a time that we're on vacation or a weekend or a night that we are not checking emails, that we are not handling things that have to be handled. It doesn't matter if we're in France. It doesn't matter if we are sitting here in our home office. It doesn't matter. We still have to take care of business. And the one thing above all else is our staff, and our staff comes first. Since COVID, we have not paid ourselves since February, but our staff has been paid and will continue to be paid because they're the ones that keep us going. Without them, we have nothing. So let's talk a minute about what you would need to do if you went into this business. First of all, we hire travel agents, and that's who we look for. But the main thing that we look for is we don't look for product knowledge. We don't expect you to know everything about all the cruise lines. We don't expect you to know everything about destinations. We have lots of resources and webinars and things that you can take to learn that. What we do look for is attitude. How do you come across on the phone? How do you, can you talk intelligently to people? Can you write an email that is grammatically correct? Those are things that are very, very important. Another thing that we look for is phone presence. Is there a smile in your voice when you answer the phone? If not, you set a mirror in front of you so that you'll smile when you answer the phone. Because just remember, we're in the business of selling fun. We're in the business of fulfilling dreams for people. The thing that excites me the most about what we do is getting notes from our clients or having them send us cards from where they are or pictures of themselves and their families on these wonderful vacations that we've been able to plan for them. As far as skill sets that you need to get into our business, keyboarding is extremely important. And when I'm talking keyboarding, I'm talking about touch typing, where you do not have to look at the keyboard as you type, because you're going to be sitting with a headset that looks kind of like this one on the phone with your clients while you are making reservations at the same time. And you can't be looking down, you've got to be looking up all the time. We also need somebody that is trustworthy. We handle a lot of proprietary information from people: birth dates, passport numbers, when they're going to be gone from home. So we have to have background checks, and we have to make sure that you are trustworthy and that we know that you're going to not divulge information about your clients. one of the things, there's a couple of achievements that we, Charlie and I together have won, besides being the sales awards and the Carnival Agency of the Year. That was for the agency. But for us personally, we, in 2002, Travel Trade, which was a big, huge travel publication in our industry, Travel Trade had uh, named us Travel Agents of the Year, which kind of astounded us. It was wonderful. We both wrote columns for Travel Trade at the time, so it was really interesting. Um, we also in 2012 were selected and inducted into Cruise Lines International Association's Hall of Fame. This is an organization that the executives at the cruise lines chose us to be in the Hall of Fame. It was a huge, huge honor. We've written 3 books for the travel industry. We are speakers and trainers for Travel Leaders Network, our consortium that we are members of. And the only advice I can give you if you're interested in getting into a travel agency or into this line of work is um, find your passion. Find your passion. And then you find somebody that's going to pay you to do it. My passion's travel. My husband was a chemical engineer, but his passion is travel also. So the two of us are a really good team. His passion is in operations and finance and IT. Mine is in sales and marketing and advertising. Between the two of us, we're a really good team. We have had to move our office to our home. We cannot during COVID, and we have chosen not to go back because we found out that we can do everything from home that we could do sitting in an office. Would I go back into this industry again if I had it to do all over? You betcha. It's the greatest industry to be in. Hospitality industry is, it's fun, it's rewarding, and in a travel agency, it is everything that you think it's going to be plus some. Yes, we do get to travel all over the world. If that's your only reason for going to work for a travel agency, that's the wrong reason. If you love travel, if you love making people happy, then this is the place for you. Good luck in whatever you decide you're going to do.